video is on how to finish the top half of a wrist warmer in the magic loop. The original one we showed was how to do it on the interlac border, which is all done with the same yarn. It could be done with a 1x1 rib with a contrasting top. It could be done with a 1x1 rib, all the same yarn. It could be done with a fuzzy cuff and a contrasting top. It's entirely up to you which one that you want to do. The part we're going to show now is after we've done the purl stitch. We've knitted around 4 rounds here, so we're just getting ready to start the thumb, which is shown here. I placed a little safety pin so I know my front, so I knew when I completed my 4 rounds. Okay, this will also be just a little quick introduction back into the magic loop. You make sure all your yarn stitches are on the 2 needles. You place the yarn over the back needle. Take the back needle out. Now we're going to begin. This is starting the increase. So our first stitch is just a knit. Then we're going to do what's called a make one. A make one is a stitch that kind of blends into the background and you don't really see it. You pick up this horizontal bar that's between the stitches, which is right here. Place it on your left needle and you knit through the back of that stitch. Now I knit a little tight, so I have difficulty, so what I do is I put my needle on the front side and just kind of go around the needle and then knit it, and that gives me my make one. Then you knit 2 and you do another make one, which is insert the needle in the bar between the stitches, place it on your left hand needle, knit through the back loop of that make one. Now we're ready to place a marker. There are several different markers that you could use. You could use a simple round ring. You could use a safety pin. I like to use a little piece of yarn that I've made a little loop out of in a contrasting color. You place your marker, then you knit around as you would do with the magic loop. So we'll go to the end of this row. Excuse me, this round. This is the first half of the first round of the thumb increase. When you get to the end, we're going to turn our work, drop the 1 needle, you want to place needle back up on the stitches. Make sure the yarn is over the top of the back needle. Pull the back needle out, leaving a loop, and you want to knit to the end again, and this will be the end of round 1. Round 1 has the increases in it for the thumb. Round 2 you just knit even all the way around with no increasing. Round 3 you do your 2 make one increases. Round 4 you knit even, and you just keep using those 2 rounds over and over again until you get the required amount of stitches before the marker. So we turn our work, put the yarn over the needle, or you can do it after you slide the needle up, whichever you prefer. Now this round would be an even round where you would just knit even. So right now we have 5 stitches here. You just want to knit those 5 stitches. There's no increasing. Then you slip your marker because you don't want to lose your space or your count, and you would knit all the way around. I'm going to knit around 1 time and show them make one again, and then the next round you would knit even all the way around, and then the next round you would make your 2 make ones. So you would add 2 stitches every other round as you go up the thumb. You finish this round. Okay, now this time we're going to do the 2 increases. Place your yarn over your needle. Slide the second needle back up onto your stitches. Sometimes you have to spin it a little bit to make it slide on because you want to keep these last 2 stitches tight so you don't get the ladder effect. knit your first stitch just like we did before. Now we're going to do a make one. See, we got our bar right there, so you pick that bar up, place it on your left hand needle, go through the back of the loop and knit one. Knit to the marker. Going to do another make one. Pick up the horizontal bar, place it on your needle, knit through the back of the loop. Hey, I got it that time. And you slip your marker and you continue knitting. At this point we should have 7, 2, 4, 6, 7, knit around. Increase again, you'll have 9, knit around until you have the designated amount of stitches before the marker. In this case it's 17. It depends on which one you're doing. So here you leave the yarn back of your work, slide your stitches back up on your needle. Now we're going to start our rib stitch, which is this portion of the thumb, which gives you a little bit of stretch. Knit the first stitch, bring your yarn to the front, purl the next stitch, bring your yarn to the front, knit the next stitch, bring your yarn to the front, purl the next stitch, take your yarn to the back, knit, yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, yarn in front, purl, and you do this all the way across. I'm going to do it a little bit quicker so we can get to the end. Don't want to make this video too long, but we definitely need to cover all the high points of making the wrist warmer in a magic loop. This also works well for a mitten in the magic loops. Use the same process, just follow the mitten pattern. Okay, after you get to your last stitch, you don't really need the marker anymore because you slide this needle, slide this back. You can take the marker out, turn your work, put the yarn to the front, oh, I'm sorry, you're not going to do that. You want to make 2 cast on stitches here, so you insert your needle, knit the stitch, but instead of dropping this one, tip your needle back and pick up and drop that stitch on your left needle. And we're going to do it again. Knit 1, slip it back. Okay, now we have 2 stitches we added on. Now we're going to do the purl. Knit. Oops, I dropped the stitch, put it back on. Purl the next one. Take the yarn in back, knit the next one, yarn in front, yarn in back and knit, yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, yarn in front, purl, yarn in back, knit, yarn in front, purl, and you complete this all the way across the row. When you turn your work, you're going to do 2 more cast on stitches here, just like you did back here. Continue doing the knit purl with a designated amount of rolls, and when you do that, you'll have something that looks like this. You just slide this back first, so all those stitches are back there and out of your way, which you would do, you did when you did that part. Slide the stitches back onto the needle. Now we're going to do a bind off in rib. I've got half of it started. You would start by knitting the first stitch and purling, and you do your bind off. Okay, then you bring your yarn to the front, purl the next stitch, take your yarn to the back because it's easier to hold if you're doing this with the throw method. Bind off, knit the next stitch, bind off, purl the next stitch, bind off, knit the next stitch, bind off, purl the next stitch, bind off, knit the next stitch, bind off, purl the next stitch, bind off. We're almost done. Knit the next stitch, bind off, and you purl your last stitch and bind off. And then you finish by putting your thread through the loop and pulling it tight. So now you've got your thumb portion ready to connect back to the rest of your work. Divide this in half again, so you have your needles up where they need to be. Okay, so now with this needle we're going to pick up a new yarn. I'll use a contrasting color. You want to pick up the 2 cast-on stitches that you did, so insert your needle, yarn over, pull it through, so there's the first one. Pick up your second stitch, yarn over, pull it through, so now we picked up the 2 cast-on. Go to the other side, now we want to pick up these 2. And we pick up the last one. So now where we had cast on 4, we have 4 here, which is going to give us that extra space between our thumb and first finger. We're going to knit to the end. This will be your setup row. Turn your work, place the yarn over the needle, slide these stitches back onto the needle, pull the back needle out, and you want to knit these all the way across. Once we get to where the thumb is, we're going to do a decrease to take those 4 stitches down to 2 stitches. That also helps make it fit the inside of your palm a little better. Once you've completed that, you would knit a round even for 4 rounds, and that'll be the next step. Okay, I've knitted those. Turn our work, slide this needle, so you can put the tail inside. Okay, slide this needle back up, yarns over the needle, pull this back needle out. Now you want to knit these first 2 together and knit the next 2 together. So that takes the 4 stitches down to 2, which makes this a little smaller in that area. And then you would knit around for 3 more rounds. So that gives you your 4 rounds. That is the portion that's right here under the final part. Now after you've done your 4 rounds, and you would start doing your knit, purl, rib for the required amount of rounds that they mentioned. So you put the yarn behind your needle, slide this needle back up, pull the back needle out, and then let's start the rib. Knit 1, yarn in front, purl 1, yarn in back, knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, and you complete this all the way around for the recommended amount of rounds. Then you bind off and rib just like we did here, and once you do that, your wrist warmer is complete.